Thanks for coming to Politics and Life. I hope all my freedom-loving patriots are having a blessed day. Sorry about that. If you wouldn't mind, please like, comment, and hit that subscribe button. Road to 800 subscribers. Here we go. Love the YouTube experience so far. If you guys ever want me to speak about another subject or react to any music in the future, just let me know in the comment section. We are reacting to the press briefing, which just happened. I heard there was fireworks. Everyone's talking about it, so we're going to react to it together, guys. Let's get it started, y'all.
After spending nearly 300 days aboard the International Space Station, Butch Wilmore and Sunny Williams are back on Earth. These two incredible astronauts were only supposed to be up there for 8.
Real quick, isn't it mind-boggling that AOC, Jasmine Crockett, all these very low, like they have no brains, just dumb Congress people are going in on Elon Musk, saying that he is very dumb. They're calling Elon Musk dumb. That's AOC and Jasmine Crockett. These women are so dumb that I can't even listen to what they say when they're talking in general. They know nothing about policy. They just lie all the time, and they're Trump deranged. And the fact that they are hating on Elon Musk, who just helped astronauts come back that were left by the Biden administration, and that's the way they speak about Elon Musk. He is doing work that our government should have been doing from the beginning. He is pretty much helping the government out and taking care of their mess that they caused under the last administration. So for them to talk about Elon Musk like that just shows how dumb AOC and Jasmine Crockett actually are, not Elon Musk.
8 days. But because of the Biden administration's lack of urgency, they ended up spending 9 months in space. Joe Biden's lack of courage to act boldly and decisively was a big reason why Butch and Sunny did not make it back until yesterday. But President Trump doesn't waste time. Immediately after taking office, President Trump directed Elon Musk and SpaceX to rescue these brave astronauts alongside NASA. The president also called the acting administrator of NASA and told her to bring the astronauts home as soon as possible. As acting administrator Janet Petro said herself yesterday, per President Trump's direction, NASA and SpaceX worked diligently to pull the schedule a month earlier. The president looks forward to welcoming Butch and Sunny to the Oval Office when they are recovered. This historic mission brings new meaning to President Trump's promise.
I critique Elon a lot, but you got to give credit where it's due. And the fact that the Democrats are clowning on Elon Musk all day, every day, saying that he's dumb, yet he's the richest man in the world, and literally helping people that were stuck in space come down, just shows that they are indeed the dumb ones, not Elon Musk.
Promise to always look out for the forgotten man and woman. On another important matter, yesterday, President Trump and President Putin spoke about the need for peace and a ceasefire in the Ukraine war. Both leaders agreed this conflict needs to end with a lasting peace, and also stressed the need for improved bilateral relations between the United States and Russia. President Trump also spoke with President Zelensky this morning to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their needs and requests. As President Trump has said repeatedly, the precious lives and money that both Ukraine and Russia have been spending in this war would be better spent on the needs of their people.
And let's not pretend that Ukraine is not pulling people and just shoving them on the front line, literally taking people walking down the street with their dogs, walking with their wives, just going on a regular walk throughout the day. Literally, groups of people are coming out of vans and beating these guys senseless and throwing them in the vans and putting them on the front line. That is what is happening in Ukraine. This war never needed to happen, and that's why Trump said he wants people on both sides to stop dying and to end the war. But because of that, he's a Putin puppet, according to the left. Such joke.
This terrible conflict would have never started with President Trump in charge, but he's determined to end it once and for all. President Trump also promised maximum transparency and a commitment to rebuild the trust of the American people in our intelligence community. Part of that promise was to fully release previously classified records related to the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy, and he made that happen yesterday. This historic release consisted of approximately 80,000 pages of previously classified records that are now published. The records are available to access either online at archives.gov/JFK or in person, accessible to the American people at the National Archives in College Park, Maryland. Records that are currently only available for in-person viewing are being digitized and will be uploaded in the coming days. On another note, positive economic data continues to pour in, showing the immediate impact of President Trump's pro-growth agenda. After suffering a steep decline in the final year of the Biden administration, the manufacturing sector came roaring back in February. Industrial production surged in February. These are new numbers, 3 times at a greater 3 times rate than the expectations to its highest ever recorded level. And President Trump's laser focus on massive deregulation and unleashing our domestic energy industry is leading to stabilities for Americans' bottom lines. As Newsweek summed it up today, gas prices are plummeting under President Trump. And the Trump administration continues to make America—
That is true. Just so you know, I live in California, and today it was at $4.80, and that was for Supreme gas. Gas is going down fast under Trump's leadership.
American communities safer through our ongoing mass deportation campaign of illegal alien criminals. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel announced the agency captured another fugitive from its 10 most wanted list, securing the extradition of Francisco Javier Roman Bardeles, a key senior leader of the brutal MS-13 gang. And the brave men and women of ICE also arrested a number of dangerous aliens across the country in recent days. You will see them on this screen. ICE San Francisco just arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of sexual battery. ICE New Orleans arrested a citizen of Ecuador convicted of rape in Suffolk County, New York. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault by strangulation. ICE Dallas arrested a citizen of Mexico convicted of assault with a firearm and rape with a foreign object. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Guatemala convicted of indecent sexual contact with a child in Texas. These are heinous criminal alien monsters who the previous administration allowed to flood into our country. And every time President Trump and this team deport one of them, our country becomes safer. Finally, before I open it up to questions, I want to tout how successful our efforts have been in filling out President Trump's administration. There have been a record number of 281 Senate confirmed nominations already, with another 280 in process. Here at the White House, OPM and GSA, we have filled 100% of the total number of slots. And this is a record number of placements in the first 58 days of any administration, and a testament to the caliber and the sheer quantity of talented people who want to work for President Trump to make America great again. Here in our new media seat today, we have Katie Pavlich. Katie is the editor of townhall.com, which is a subsidiary of Town Hall Media. It's a leading conservative news and opinion outlet based right here in Washington, D.C., with writers and journalists reporting around the country. Last year, Town Hall Media had 60 million unique users and 1.4 billion page views, with a broad reach on a number of social media platforms. With that, Katie, please kick us off.
Thank you, Caroline.
I hope to be that big one day. Please, if you're coming from X, Twitter, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. As you can see illustrated in the bottom right here, I'm really trying to grow a channel for America First Conservative. Thank you, guys. Let's get it started.
I really appreciate it. Thank you. So given the back and forth with this U.S. District Judge and the administration's use of the Alien Enemies Act, does the president plan to send new and additional flights of Venezuelan gang members now designated as foreign terrorists from the U.S. to El Salvador or elsewhere? Can Americans expect to see those flights sometime soon?
Americans can absolutely
Like Katie a lot. She works for Fox. She is a patriot.
Expect to see the continuation of the mass deportation campaign that has been successfully led by this president, Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and also our Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Since you brought up the judges, I would like to point out that the judges in this country are acting erroneously. We have judges who are acting as partisan activists from the bench. They are trying to dictate policy from the President of the United States. They are trying to clearly slow walk this administration's agenda, and it's unacceptable. As the president said last night, we will continue to comply with these court orders. We will continue to fight these battles in courts, but it's incredibly apparent that there is a concerted effort by the far left to judge shop to pick judges who are clearly acting as partisan activists from the bench in an attempt to derail this president's agenda. We will not allow that to happen. And not only are they usurping the will of the president and the chief executive of our country, but they are undermining the will of the American public, tens of millions of Americans who duly elected this president to implement the.
Yeah, these leftist judges don't care about the crime and havoc that's going on across the country in their own liberal states. My state, for example, with the homeless crisis, the drug crisis, the stealing in stores crisis, just violence all throughout the state. Instead, they are focused on anything Trump does. While supporting these illegal gang members, they should be more focused on their own states than these illegals who shouldn't be here to begin with.
Policies that are coming out of this White House.
And then one more question. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said yesterday that he was united with Democrats in working against Americans who, quote, their attitude is, I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how to treat my customers? What is the president's response to this, given his upcoming tax agenda and need to work on Capitol Hill?
Well, we certainly hope that Democrats all of a sudden are for more money in the pockets of the American public. The president has made it incredibly clear that he is committed to tax cuts. He is committed to passing a big reconciliation package later this year, ending no taxes on tips, taxes on overtime, no taxes on Social Security for our hardworking seniors. And we encourage everybody on Capitol Hill to support that when it comes to the finish line, especially Democrats who clearly need a boost from the American public right now. Their approvals are at an all-time record low. Thanks for being with us.
And that's at a record low with 90% big media that pushes the Democrat Party and their fake agenda. Could you imagine if it was 50-50 down the middle? They would probably have like a 2%. I mean, the Democrats have been exposed these past couple elections, and they literally use the same talking points every single day. No one's falling for it anymore besides a very, very small minority of sheeple.
That's Katie. Garrett.
I have one other question, but I want to follow up on Katie's question. Actually, you said the mass deportation campaign would continue, but she asked about the flights specifically. Will those flights to El Salvador continue while this case is being appealed?
We don't have any flights planned specifically, but we will continue with the mass deportations. And I would just like to point out that the judge in this case is essentially trying to say that the president doesn't have the executive authority to deport foreign terrorists from our American soil. That is an egregious abuse of the bench. This judge does not have that authority. It is the opinion of this White House and of this administration, and that's why we're fighting this in court. And it's very, very clear that this is an activist judge who is trying to usurp the president's authority. Under the Alien Enemies Act, the president has this power, and that's why this deportation campaign has continued. And this judge, Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
You took me right where I wanted to go about the idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well, let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67.
Let's not pretend that George Bush wasn't a rhino and a warmonger. He lied about the whole Iraq war and profited off it and got millions. That's why him, Bill Clinton, and the Obamas are all best friends now. They're all part of the same snake. Trust me. % of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. Let me say that again. 60% of the injunctions by partisan activists in the judicial branch have come against President Donald Trump. And 92% of those have been from Democrat-appointed judges. This is a clear, concerted effort by leftists who don't like this president and are trying to impose or slow down his agenda.
So given that, do you think it's a good use of Congress's time and the president's political capital to try to impeach and remove a federal judge, which would take 67 votes you're unlikely to get in the Senate?
Well, look, the president has made it clear that he believes this judge in this case should be impeached. And he has also made it clear that he has great respect for the Chief Justice John Roberts. And it's incumbent upon the Supreme Court to rein in these activist judges. These partisan activists are undermining the judicial branch by doing so. We have co-equal branches of government for a reason, and the president feels very strongly about that. Jackie.
Thanks, What options does does the president have to, he says he's going to follow court orders. He wouldn't defy a court order, but he's raised these concerns about these judges acting in such a partisan way. What option does he have to ensure that his agenda continues to move forward while this is ongoing and the judges appear to be trying to just block and delay and impede?
Well, you're right. They are trying to block, delay, and impede. This is lawfare. The president is no stranger to it. He faced it in his campaign, and this is a continuation of the lawfare that President Trump faced as a candidate, and he's now unfortunately facing as a president. Clearly, these partisan activists in the judicial branch didn't get the memo on November 5th when the American people overwhelmingly reelected this president to continue with mass deportations. So White House counsel and the Department of Justice are working on this. They're appealing these cases, and we will continue to use the full weight of the White House counsel's office and the president's team of lawyers to fight this in court, because we know we will win, even if we have to go all the way to the Supreme Court.
One more on TDA. Andy McCarthy said in an interview with Hugh Hewitt, he certainly agrees with what the president is trying to do with the Alien Enemies Act, but he's not sure that the law is completely on his side. He cites some previous Supreme Court rulings dealing with enemy combatants in wartime, says that even they have a challenge or a right to challenge their detention in court. He raised concern also that while TDA has been designated as a terrorist organization, these individuals hadn't been prosecuted for terrorism. So my question is, will the president ask Congress potentially to declare?
Amazing. Can you imagine these same fake left journalists, press corps, asking these type of questions under the previous administration instead of asking what his favorite ice cream was or what he's doing for vacation? They literally are supporting and obsessed with talking about these terrorists or these criminals who broke our federal laws to get into our country. I don't understand the obsession. It's insane.
Air war on these cartels for the invasion that he's talked about so that he's on stronger legal footing?
Well, we absolutely disagree with the legal opinion of the individual that you mentioned. We would not have moved forward with this if we didn't believe the president. This was within the president's executive authority to continue with this mass deportation effort under the authority provided to him under the Alien Enemies Act. And when you read the act, as I did last time at the podium, a predatory incursion is absolutely what has happened with Tren de Aragua. They have been sent here by the hostile Maduro regime in Venezuela, and the president, immediately upon taking office, designated TDA as a foreign terrorist organization. And under this act, it is within the president's authority to deport these terrorists. And anybody trying to defend these terrorists who have now been sent off of American soil should talk to the families of the individuals who these heinous monsters have killed and have raped. If you talk,
and they now have only done that during Trump's joint speech to Congress. They wouldn't even clap for the parents who lost loved ones to illegal criminals. Instead, they sat down with their hands crossed and didn't give two shits. Yet, big media on the left hasn't even interviewed any of these parents yet. But instead, they will talk about and support these people who are illegally here, these criminals in our country on a daily basis. They support the criminals. They don't care about the victims.
talk to those families. They are so heartened by the president's decision to take tough action and to use his executive authority, something that no other president has been willing to do, because President Trump does what he says he's going to do, and he is deporting these foreign terrorists from American soil to secure our homeland, and he's within his rights to do that. Jennifer.
Very quickly on Tesla, there's a website that's trying to dox Tesla owners across the country and saying they're only going to take down personal information when people show that they've sold their cars. What's the administration going to do about that?
I haven't seen that website, but we certainly think it's despicable, the violence that has taken place against Tesla, the company, its employees, and also just Americans who have chosen to drive an electric vehicle. Many of them are Democrats, by the way. Democrats were big supporters of Tesla and of electric vehicles.
And also, they literally just burnt down Tesla centers in Vegas yesterday. These people are terrorists. They are acting just like terrorists, these same exact actions as a terrorist would do, and they are not getting prosecuted. I'm sorry, but Pam Bondi, you need to do more. You need to stop going on these interviews, and you need to actually do something and start locking these criminals up. Because Elon Musk used to be the left's favorite person because he was for climate change. And the minute he goes against the messaging from the left, he's enemy number one.
until Elon Musk decided to vote for Donald Trump. So we would like Democrats to also come out and condemn this heinous violence that we have seen. And I believe the Attorney General has said she's investigating these incidents as acts of domestic terrorism. Jennifer.
On Ukraine, can you say, is the White House going to pause foreign military aid or intelligence sharing with Ukraine as Russia says it's pushing for? And then I have a follow-up on the Federal Trade Commission.
Sure. When it comes to Ukraine, I do have a statement for you from the National Security Advisor and also the Secretary of State. First, I'd like to reiterate what the president said earlier following his call with President Zelensky this morning. He said he just completed a very good telephone call with President Zelensky. It lasted approximately 1 hour. Much of the discussion was based on the call made yesterday with President Putin in order to align both Russia and Ukraine in terms of their requests and needs. We are very much on track. And I will ask Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Mike Waltz to give an accurate description of the points discussed. That statement will be put out shortly. Well, I have that statement for you right here. Bear with me as I read it. Today, President Trump and Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky had a fantastic phone conversation. President Zelensky thanked
I hope they release that phone call. That would be epic.
President Trump for a productive start for the work of the Ukrainian and American teams in Jeddah on March 11th. The meeting of the senior officials from both nations significantly helped in moving toward ending the war. President Zelensky thanked President Trump for the support of the United States, especially the Javelin missiles that President Trump was first to provide and his efforts towards peace. The leaders agreed Ukraine and America will continue working together to bring about a real end to the war, and that lasting peace under President Trump's leadership can be achieved. President Trump fully briefed President Zelensky on his conversation with Putin and the key issues discussed. They reviewed the situation in Kursk and agreed to share information closely between their defense staffs as the battlefield situation evolved. President Zelensky asked for additional air defense systems to protect his civilians, particularly Patriot missile systems. And President Trump...
We should not be giving them any ammo, ammunition, or our own money. They need to protect themselves. It just doesn't make sense why we'd be sending all of our stuff that we need in case an emergency happened in the U.S. to this other country. Zelensky's acting like he owns us or that like we owe him some type of debt. I just don't get him asking for constant shit. Go ask your other countries in NATO or go ask the other people that are surrounding you for money and stuff to help with the war. That's not our priority.
Trump agreed to work with him to find what was available, particularly in Europe. The two leaders also agreed on a partial ceasefire against energy. Technical teams will meet in Saudi Arabia in the coming days to discuss broadening the ceasefire to the Black Sea on the way to a full ceasefire. They agreed this could be the first step toward the full end of the war and ensuring security. President Zelensky was grateful for the president's leadership in this effort and reiterated his willingness to adopt a full ceasefire. President Trump also discussed Ukraine's electrical supply and nuclear power plants. He said that the United States could be very helpful in running those plants with its electricity and utility expertise. American ownership of those plants would be the best protection for that infrastructure and support for Ukrainian energy infrastructure. President Zelensky also thanked President Trump for continuing to push humanitarian concerns, including the exchange of prisoners of war. He noted they had just had a successful exchange and thanked the president for his leadership on that. President Trump also asked President Zelensky about the children who had gone missing from Ukraine during the war, including the ones that had been abducted. And President Trump promised to work closely with both parties to help make sure those children were returned home. They agreed all parties must continue the effort to make a ceasefire work. The presidents noted the positive work of their advisors and representatives, especially Secretary Rubio, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Special Envoy Kellogg, and others. The presidents instructed their teams to move ahead with the technical issues related to implementing and broadening the partial ceasefire. The presidents instructed their advisors and representatives to carry out this work as quickly as possible. The presidents emphasized that in further meetings, the teams can agree on all necessary aspects of advancing toward lasting peace and security. That is a lengthy statement that was just given to me, so thanks for bearing with me. Our office will, of course, provide this after. And as you know, as I just pointed out in the statement, the president's team of negotiators and national security experts will be heading to Saudi again later this week to continue working on and ironing out the details. But I would just like to emphasize we have never been this close to peace and it's only because of President Trump that we are here. I think a couple of years ago, as you all reported on the war, it was incomprehensible to have a partial ceasefire in this conflict. And today that is true because of the leadership of this president.
So they
Mary.
agreed to closely share information between their defense staffs. Does that mean all intelligence sharing will continue? So the White House is rejecting Russia's request to pause.
Intelligence sharing in terms of defense for Ukraine will continue to be shared. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. I have two questions. One on the United States Institute of Peace and then on the Supreme Court, if that's okay.
Sure.
So on the United States Institute of Peace, this is a little bit wild. I understand the old president refused to leave after he was removed from his position. He barricaded himself in his offices, had to be escorted out by police, left the building without Wi-Fi, telephones, elevators, and more, and is now telling media that Doge broke in and illegally...
Yes, Sharon. Zelensky needs to put on his big boy pants and take care of his own country. He just expects free stuff 24/7, and it's enough is enough. Enough people have died.
Removed him. So can you comment on this sequence of events and specify, did Doge illegally enter?
I'm really glad you brought this up, Mary. We were made aware of this story by individuals at Doge, at Elon Musk's team, and also at the State Department who were unable to access this building. And it became very clear that there was a concerted effort amongst the rogue bureaucrats at the United States Institute of Peace to actually physically barricade themselves essentially inside of the building to prevent political appointees of this administration who work at the direction of the President of the United States to get into the building. There was a piece in the Daily Caller, thank you for sharing the truth on this, about what happened. Staff contacted the MPD in an attempt to prevent Doge personnel from entering. They
I see there's a good amount of people from X here. Please, if you guys wouldn't mind, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Help out an America First Conservative reach his goal of 1,000 subscribers. Let's get it started.
The doors. They also disabled telephone lines, internet connections, and other IT infrastructure within the building. They distributed flyers internally, encouraging each other to basically prevent these individuals from accessing the building. I use this to say this is what Doge and this administration is facing. It's a resistance from bureaucrats who don't want to see change in this city. President Trump was elected on an overwhelming mandate to seek change and implement change, and this is unacceptable behavior.
Thank you. Just really quick on the Supreme Court. I know it's been almost 3 years now since the leak of the draft Dobbs opinion to Politico, actually. A leak which sparked protesting outside the homes of the justices and even brought on one attempted assassination attempt. I know Justice Alito said that it made the justices targets for assassination, but yet the Supreme Court has not tracked down any leaker. Does the White House have interest in finding out who that leaker was, and can you comment on that at all?
I know generally speaking, the president has an interest in finding leakers, and he believes it's unacceptable. And it's the position of this administration. You've seen the Secretary of Homeland Security has taken tough action at her agency. Leaking is unacceptable to this president and to the leaders across the board in this cabinet, especially when it puts people in harm's way. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. A mom whose daughter was forced to change in a locker room with a biological male at school filed a complaint with the DOJ. How will the Trump DOJ deal with violations of President Trump's orders protecting women and girls like this?
I would defer you to the Department of Justice.
The Democrats are for women and women's rights, yet they let these men come into women's supposed to be safe spaces and just parade around like they're actual women, and then they'll call you transphobe. It is such a joke. The left has become such a joke when it comes to their talking points and what they support.
Justice on that specific case, but the president has made it incredibly clear that it is the policy of this administration that there are only two genders, male and female, only two sexes rather, male and female, and that we are not going to tolerate such behavior by men pretending to be women. The president will continue to strongly stand for the rights of women and girls, not just in sports and on athletic fields, but also in private spaces like locker rooms and bathrooms. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. On the FTC, two quick questions. Can you explain the president's thinking in his decision to fire the two Democratic commissioners, especially given that Mark Meadow is on track to be confirmed next week and there would be a Republican majority? My biggest question is why now?
Sure. Because the time was right to let these people go, and the president absolutely has the authority to do it. And they were given ample notice in a letter that I believe your outlet reported on. So it pretty much explains exactly why this administration chose to let those individuals go.
Is the ultimate goal to get this to the Supreme Court to try to overturn the 1935 precedent?
The goal was to let these individuals go. If we have to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court, we certainly will. Rachel.
Back to those deportation flights to El Salvador, can the administration provide any more details on how authorities determined that each of those men were in fact members of a gang? And if the White House can publish images, photos, videos of those men, why can't the administration just release basic information like their identities and names?
We are not going to reveal operational details about a counterterrorism operation. But what I can assure you, as I said on Monday, we have the highest degree of confidence in our ICE agents and our Customs and Border Patrol agents who have committed their lives to targeting illegal criminals in our country, particularly foreign terrorists, and they had great evidence and indication. They have the highest degree of professionalism, and they were 100% confident in the individuals that were sent home on these flights and in the president's executive authority to do that.
Follow up, I know in the last briefing you cited privacy concerns as a reason why the administration may not be able to reveal the identities. What exactly are the privacy rights of immigrants who were deported that the administration says were dangerous enough to be sent to El Salvador and sit in a prison?
Stop calling them immigrants. If they're illegally here, they are illegal immigrants. It's such a joke that these left-wing news reporters do this crap.
And as I just said, we're not going to reveal the operational details of a counterterrorism operation for quite obvious reasons. We're trying to combat terrorism here in the United States of America. Jeff.
I could ask something else about the phone call yesterday. There was a couple different readouts from the Kremlin and the U.S. on a couple different points. One was energy and infrastructure. The U.S. statement said energy and infrastructure. The Kremlin said energy infrastructure. What is your understanding of what the actual substance of that disagreement was? And then one other question on that.
I would defer you to the readout that was provided by the White House. That's our understanding, and that's the truth.
And if I could ask a question about the judge as well. How does a president define a bad judge? Is it just someone who disagrees with him? And
That's just such an ignorant ass question. He probably works for MSNBC. No, I'll do it for you. And they've said this over and over. You are more focused on what Trump's doing, which is deporting these criminals out of this country, than fixing your own states, which your people had elected you to do, like arresting criminals instead of letting them out on lower charges, or how about not arresting them, period, and just letting them get away with whatever they want to do to people. This is insane that they are so obsessed with defending illegals and these corrupt judges who aren't even helping out their own states.
a dangerous precedent in this case because this is a temporary ruling from Judge Boasberg that he could ultimately rule in your favor. Is he setting up a standard here for calling for the impeachment of a judge who may ultimately rule on your side?
No, it has nothing to do with disagreeing with the president on policy. It's with disagreeing with the Constitution and the law. And it's trying to usurp the authority of the executive branch of this country. It's having baseless reasoning for these injunctions. And it's a clear effort by these judges to slow roll this president's agenda. And if you just look at the injunctions that this president has faced, deporting foreign terrorists from our homeland, hiring and firing of executive branch employees, which when the president is the executive of the executive branch. You also see an injunction by a partisan activist judge when it comes to the Secretary of Defense trying to determine the readiness of our troops and the qualifications of our troops in our armed forces. Does a single district court judge really have more authority over the commander-in-chief and the Secretary of Defense to determine who should serve in our United States Armed Forces? Absolutely not. Anyone who has taken a basic civics lesson can understand that. And it's ridiculous lawfare that we are witnessing. And it's
setting supports I'm sorry, the president said he respects the Chief Justice here. Mm-hmm. Does he respect him specifically on this case and this opinion, or respects him overall? And has he spoken to any other Supreme Court justices?
The president respects Chief Justice Roberts overall. He just expressed that to me in the Oval Office, but it's also quite clear that the Supreme Court needs to rein in these judges who are acting as partisan activists, and they are undermining the judicial branch. And it's a dereliction.
Again, I'm going to repeat myself. They are literally protecting criminals, and just because Trump is doing something, they are going against everything Trump is doing. Yet there's criminals, illegals, rapists, pedophiles, groomers in their states, and they ignore it and just turn a blind eye. It is disgusting behavior. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. They are Soros-funded judges, and it's not okay. Yet Elon actually is helping us with USAID and exposing the corruption of all these agencies, and it's the end of the world. It's disgusting and such huge hypocrisy from the left, and I'm glad Americans are waking up.
Of duty on their behalf. Deanna, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Caroline. On the call with Zelensky, did they discuss the minerals deal at all? Is that back on the table? And what do the Ukrainians have to do to get that back on the table? And then one on the Russia call as well.
Again, I just provided a very lengthy readout of the call that was provided by the Secretary of State and the National Security Advisor. And now we have moved beyond the economic minerals deal. We are at a place of peace. We're at a partial ceasefire, and we're moving towards a full ceasefire and a long-standing peace in this conflict. And that's great news for the American public.
Kremlin readout mentioned that Trump and Putin spoke about potential U.S.-Russia hockey games. And the Kremlin readout also said that Russia wanted the U.S. to stop U.S. intelligence and U.S. funding to Ukraine. The president has said that that conversation did not happen. Just wondering if you can get us any more clarity on that. And also, again, if it's energy infrastructure or if it's energy and infrastructure, because I think there is a big difference between that.
Again, as for the readouts of the call, I would defer you to ours. And when it comes to the topic of hockey, it did come up. However, we're more interested in securing a peace deal than scheduling hockey games right now. Sean.
Hey, about the deportation flight. So was it the president himself who directed the planes to stay in the air after the judge ordered them to turn back?
The president invoked the Alien Enemies Act with a proclamation, which then directed the Department of Homeland Security and the Department of State to move forward with the plan of action. And as I said yesterday, all of the planes that were subject to the judge's written order took off before the order was submitted in court. I was asked and answered that question multiple times yesterday. Kate, go ahead.
Is the president still considering pressuring Russia with sanctions or tariffs to try to get a full ceasefire? And is there any kind of deadline or timeline that the White House has in mind for when that pressure might ramp up?
Again, the president had a nearly 2-hour-long call with President Putin yesterday. We provided a readout of that call, and we have his negotiating team heading to the Middle East this week to continue these discussions in regards to sanctions and any other details. I'm not going to give a readout of those from this podium.
And on TikTok, is Oracle the leading contender for a deal? And would the U.S. back a deal that keeps TikTok's algorithm and the underlying technology still in Chinese hands?
As President Trump does so well, we don't get ahead of ourselves when we are in the midst of the art of the deal. So when the president and this team are ready to announce a deal on TikTok, which is a high priority for the president, we will make that known. I've seen that reporting, but I'm not going to comment on it just yet. Sure, go ahead.
Thank you, Press Secretary Leavitt. Some prominent Trump supporters have been making the case that Derek Chauvin deserves a pardon. They argue that he did not receive a fair trial. Joe Biden and other Democrats actually implied that he was guilty while the trial was going on. BLM rioters had these jurors under immense threat and pressure. Mainstream media, frankly,
I don't. Oh, sorry, guys. Another video was playing. I don't know what your opinions are on BLM and Chauvin. I think he should be released. I think he has served enough jail time. Candace Owens has done a deep dive into the George Floyd killing, and it looks like he overdosed. That's my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know what you think, but I think that he should be released. We have criminals that are attacking people. We have literally killers that have been released from jail, and this guy made a mistake, yes. I don't think he should be in jail forever, though. I really don't believe that.
Many news outlets here today are complicit here. They chose to ignore the autopsy report. They chose to ignore the full body camera footage. They decided to slander Derek Chauvin as a racist cop instead. Does the administration believe Derek Chauvin received a fair trial, and will they consider a pardon moving forward?
The president has been asked and answered this question. He said it's not something he's considering at this time. Philip.
Thank you. Two questions. First, just a follow-up on the readouts from those calls. When it comes to the discrepancies between the U.S. and Russian readout of that call between President Trump and Putin, is it the president's assessment that something is getting lost in translation, or does he believe that the Russians are trying to play games here?
Nope. The president believes in his team that put the readout out, and he also put his own out on Truth Social. We've been incredibly transparent about all of the president's calls with foreign leaders. And again, I would defer you to the readout.
And then following up on...
Thank you, Caroline. White House said yesterday that gas prices across the U.S. have fallen for the fourth straight week. 34 states now seeing gas under $3 a gallon. This limited ceasefire with Ukraine regarding oil refineries, energy, will that affect gas prices here in the U.S.?
Well, it's certainly the president's hope that gas prices will continue to fall, and he's working every single day to ensure that we do. As you just mentioned, there's been very encouraging data. Inflation is cooling and gas prices are falling. The president has established a National Energy Dominance Council, and it's ultimately the president's goal. And this administration is working hard on it every single day to increase our energy production right here in the United States of America, to have it Trump energy boom like we saw in our first.
Let me tell you, gas is already going down in California. I'm sorry, yeah, I know California, but it's already down to like 480, which previously it was around 650.
Term, which will not only lead to lower fuel prices here at home, but also lessen the rate of inflation that was created by the previous administration.
One more on Tesla, Caroline. Tim Walz, Governor Walz, saying last night he frequently checks Tesla stock. In doing so,
Tim Walz also said yesterday that he thinks he could beat up MAGA supporters and that we're transphobic. And I'd like to say that dude would get his ass beat. It's amazing that Tampon Tim is thinking he's hard when he's not. That is one big reason why masculine men didn't vote Democrat, because the left has gone full woke and the men are just feminine as hell. And that's what they push for men. They push for women to be masculine, men to be feminine. And that is not how it works in society. And that's why a large portion of manly men, most of them actually, all voted Trump.
Quote, give me a little boost during the day. How should Americans view politicians who take pride in the downfall of an American car company?
I think that's quite sad, but I think Governor Walz unfortunately is living a sad existence after his devastating defeat on November 5th.
Facts.
Reagan, go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Across the country, Tesla cars are being lit on fire, dealerships are being shot up, Molotov cocktails are being used.
And CNN, which I'm going to do a live on later, is literally
there was a website
defending this, call this protesting, and that there's no violence, just like the BLM rights. They defended that crap. They're defending these as well. It's disgusting.
I posted yesterday that shared the addresses of private Tesla owners and reportedly had Kash Patel's information on it. AG Gandhi has called this acts of domestic terrorism. Does the White House have any indication that this is some sort of coordinated movement or that's being funded by some outside group? And do you know if the investigation by the DOJ is being investigated as incidents of organized terror?
I believe the Attorney General has made her comments clear on that. She is investigating these events as acts of domestic terrorism, and we fully condemn them. And as I said earlier to Jackie's question, we think it's despicable what is happening to not just this American company, but also their innocent employees. And again, innocent Americans who drive these vehicles. We condemn it wholeheartedly. Sure.
More than 24,000 workers in 18 agencies are in the process of being reinstated. What is your message to these workers, and can you assure them they won't be fired again as the administration directs agencies to do more layoffs?
Well, the administration is complying with the court's order. Again, as I have spoken about repeatedly, we think it's despicable that we have judges acting as judicial activists, partisan activists, trying to dictate who the president of the United States, the executive of the executive branch, can hire and
Pam Bondi is the only criticism I will give to the Trump administration. She needs to do more.
Fire. We have never seen anything like this. We are fighting this in court, and we will continue to fight it all the way to the Supreme Court if we have to. And as for federal employees, it's been the very common sense position of this president and the administration that bureaucrats here in Washington, D.C. need to show up to the office just like the rest of America. Middle-class Americans, from doctors to business owners to teachers to law enforcement officers, have to show up to their offices every single day. And the president has made it a clear priority that people in this city have to do the same. And we are also continue to be committed to reducing the scale of our workforce and to reducing the size of our federal bureaucracy here in Washington, D.C. to save taxpayers' money. Annie, go ahead.
Thanks so much. In the statement that you read, you referenced the president's interest in helping return Ukrainian children to their parents and to their families. There's an organization that provides intel and information about those children that their aid has been cut. It's a Yale University program that used foreign aid. And I'm curious if, as part of this new thinking with Ukraine, that aid might be unfrozen.
I have no updates about that or that specific program at this time. Karen.
Thanks, Caroline. Just to follow up on your answer to the question on the minerals deal, you said that the White House has moved beyond the minerals deal. What does that mean? Is that no longer on the table?
Nope. It means the minerals deal was that first set of framework that you all saw in that very public meeting with President Zelensky and President Trump in the Oval Office. We are now focused on a long-term peace agreement. As you know, on that deal or that meeting between President Zelensky and President Trump, the Ukrainian president at the time wasn't talking about a greater peace deal. We are now at that place where we are talking about that. So we've moved beyond just the economic minerals deal framework, and we're looking at a lasting ceasefire. Right now, we're at a partial ceasefire. But again, the president is sending his highly skilled, intelligent, and experienced team to Saudi Arabia later this week.
Also, go subscribe to Liberal Hive Mind. He is doing God's work. This is what I eventually want to be right here. He is, I believe, at 1.5 million subscribers. Go give him a follow. This is where I get most of my news that I speak about from.
Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The Democrat Party is collapsing before our very eyes. And I'm not just saying that because it confirms my bias. I'm saying that because that's what the numbers are telling us. We're building on yesterday's story as I reacted to the CNN SSRS poll that showed Democrats with a generic approval rating of just 29%. You know the numbers.
Let's not forget, that's with 90% big media in their pockets, funded by USAID, which comes from exactly our taxpayer dime. So we've been funding our own corruption and own Mockingbird media, which is just fake news. It's insane. And they still have that much of a rating. They should be at 0% approval.
Are telling the story, not me. And well, now we've got more numbers, as NBC News just dropped a poll so bad that it makes CNN's numbers look slightly generous. You know, just when you thought the Democrats couldn't go any lower, NBC News says, hold my beer. Let me show you how you're wrong, pal. They just dropped a poll showing Democrats with an approval rating at 27%. That's right, 27. Absolute frickin' rock bottom. It seems like the 2024 loss was just the start for the Democrats, as people continue to ditch them in droves. This party's now getting close to all-time lows, an absolute historic level of political failure. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. Let's talk about it, shall we? So let's roll the tape. All right, folks, so just take a look at this clip. Here's CNN's Harry Enton covering the latest batch of data.
Democrats, call your office. You know, we're March Madness times. Terrible, 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 to quote the great Charles Barkley. View Democratic Party favorably. CNN SRS, look at this, 29%. NBC News, you want to go lower than that? How about 27%? Both are record lows. The lowest going back to 1992 in CNN polling, the lowest going back on record to 1990 in NBC News polling. The majority of Americans hold an unfavorable or negative view of the Democratic Party at this point. All I can say is I'm a big fan of the oldies, so I'm going to quote Chubby Checker. How low can you go? How about this one? Holy Toledo. Voters' views of the Democrats in Congress among all voters disapprove. 68%. And look at the approved number, just 21%.
It's a lot higher than that. I'm telling you guys, it's a lot higher. There's no way even a fifth of this country supports the Democrat Party. They have been lying. They've been exposed. They think we're stupid, and all they do is talk about Trump all day long. I'm sorry, but I think it's maybe 5%. And that's just mostly indoctrinated college kids, no offense, and older white liberals, unfortunately.
Even lower than the Democratic Party at large. This is the lowest on record for Democrats, according to Quinnipiac University polling. You think these numbers are bad? Let's go to this side of the screen. We'll look how Democratic voters feel. Get this. The plurality of Democratic voters disapprove of Democrats in Congress at 49%, and just 40% approve. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Oh, my goodness gracious, you just can't get worse than these numbers.
And this is the number right here really driving all of this. As Democrats have turned, if Democratic voters have turned on Democrats in Congress and the Democratic Party, that's what puts the numbers at historic lows. What is it they want to be seeing, these voters?
What is going on? I'll tell you what's going on. They don't like what's coming out of some of those Senate Democrats like Chuck Schumer because
absolute freaking disaster mode. And what this now tells me, I mean, the biggest part here is that the NBC poll is telling me that we've now confirmed the trend. And this isn't a Rasmussen and RMG research poll. These aren't Republican internal polls. This is NBC, the same corporate mouthpiece that does everything in their power to prop up Democrats. These are the biggest left-wing push pollsters in the business. And yet even their own polls can't cover up the disaster that is currently unfolding. The Democrat Party is in utter freefall. And the most important thing here isn't to focus on the actual numbers. No, I think better is focusing on their response, and that's what we've been doing over the last couple of days, asking the question, are Democrats having a wake-up call moment? But of course, as we continue to cover, if you thought that maybe, just maybe, the left would take a step back and reevaluate, no, never. They've learned absolutely nothing. The Democrat response to these dismal polls has been nothing short of pathetic, cringe, and sad. I got another clip to show you guys, continuing the trend that we've been highlighting. Democrats have absolutely no frickin' self-awareness.
What do you make of these numbers for the Democrats?
Well, you could have seen them the night that Trump addressed the Congress. And you watched the Democratic Party. They seemed like they weren't there. They were sort of vacant. They weren't saying anything with their manner. They never questioned the facts. They let the president lie about Social Security and say that we're giving benefits to people who are 160 years old.
That is not a lie. There's thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of people who are dead that are collecting Social Security. So why shouldn't we look into it? I don't understand why they're so against it. Oh, yeah, that's right, because USAID and these corrupt countries or corrupt industries, with our taxpayer dime, we're funding this big media, MSNBC, to lie on behalf of the American people. We are, with our taxes, funding propaganda, folks.
To their grandchildren. We allowed Elon Musk to go on television and tell everybody that we're using Social Security as a lure to bring people into the country illegally. That we're giving them benefits, which we're not. We're giving them to illegal people in the country who come in illegally. We give it to them. Lie after lie after lie, and said nothing. I'll tell you, Carville.
Bro, what do you? This dude's a clown. We've seen where our taxes are going to. I mean, funding billions towards illegals who shouldn't even be here. They're getting thousands per month in EBT, welfare benefits, and just free money. It's already been confirmed, so you can continue to say it's a lie, but the American people have already spoke during this last election, and there's already been facts that have came out proving that true. This dude's an idiot.
James Carville, who said the Democrats should stay silent, may be partially right, but where he's wrong is you have to have a fact checker. There needs to be a war room. Remember in 1992? Yeah. Remember how Bill Clinton won that election because he had a war room. He and George Stephanopoulos were down there in Little Rock, and they were checking every fact, and nobody checks the facts anymore. And the lies are getting through to the American people.
Yeah, you heard that right. According to the Democrat commentators at MSNBC, the reason their numbers are so low isn't because of their disastrous policies, nothing to do with their extreme agenda. No. The real problem is that Elon Musk and Donald Trump just lie too much. We can't keep up with the lies. What an utter and complete joke. These people have zero introspection, zero accountability, zero ability to recognize their own failures. And how rich that is. Oh, the reason that we're losing is because the other side lies. What a complete joke that is, coming from the side that lies about literally everything, especially when targeting Donald Trump and Elon Musk. That's the real irony there, right? Donald Trump and Elon.
It's amazing people are still falling for the hoaxes. I mean, we can provide like 3 pages of hoaxes that the left has said about Trump that have been proven false. It's amazing anyone even watches big media at this point.
are liars. Yet everything these people say about Donald Trump and Elon Musk generally is a freaking lie. Elon Musk is a horrible businessman whose rockets are freaking exploding. He's a failure. Elon Musk bought Twitter and it's now losing money, even though I think they just turned their biggest profit ever.
Out of all the ways to start an online side hustle in 2025, my personal favorite.
Elon Musk is planning on stealing your social security payments. He's stealing your private data. And don't even get me started about the lies targeting Donald Trump and just the more general partisan hackery lies. But now they have the audacity to say that they're the ones telling the truth and it's Trump and Elon who are currently winning because they're deceiving people. I mean, what an absolute insult to the intelligence of the American people. They're essentially saying, we're not the problem. The problem is that you, the American voter, you are too dumb to be able to discern for the truth. That is essentially the crux of their argument. And the solution, oh, it's just rich. Here's another moment of that same segment.
There should be an exciting a construct in which they push back on facts. On facts. Just stick to the facts. I don't want to hear your feelings, especially from far left-wing Democrats. I don't want to hear laughing or,
We have seen the facts, first of all, and the facts are never on the left-wing media's side. All they do is lie, and that's what they've been doing. They used to love Trump. And then the minute he came down that escalator as a conservative, that's when the left-wing news and all these fake Hollywood elites hated him and called him the next thing like Hitler. It's a joke. No one's falling for it anymore. Also, if you're coming from X, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Help an America First Conservative build his channel. My YouTube is right below, as you guys can see. Let's get it started.
Derisive laughter. I want to hear the facts. I want to hear where our democracy is slowly being broken down, how and why. I want to hear it from Democrats. I want to hear it from a very inspiring figure who can stand up for democracy and put all the garbage, all the bickering, all the name calling, all the emotion aside and stand up just for the country.
Oh, all Democrats need to do is change literally nothing except for all the emotional crap and just continue to lead with the facts. What is she going on about? Democrats have a horrible relationship with the facts. That's the problem. Maybe we could reword her argument a little bit better. What Democrats need to do is rekindle with the facts. Get back to being able to emotionally accept the facts, even when they don't fit their freaking narrative. And most importantly, tell the damn truth. But of course, we know that's never going to happen. No, anytime things don't go well for Democrats, let the gaslighting begin. Instead of looking at the reality of their situation, they're doubling down on the same failing strategy. It's never their fault. It's always someone else's fault. When they lose elections, it's because of voter suppression or Russian interference and propaganda. When the economy tanks, it's Trump's fault. Or there were global factors that were simply unavoidable. When their policies fail, it's because they didn't really truly get to implement them properly. Or I don't know, somehow it's Republicans or Trump's fault. And when their party approval craters into the ground and they lose an election in historic fashion, it's not their fault, it's not their messaging, it's that the voters are being manipulated. Absolutely pathetic. But the reality is they're completely out of touch with the American people. And clearly they're completely allergic to any level of introspection. A 27% approval rating is an extinction level event for a political party. At that point, it's time to start focusing on yourself and getting your own stuff in line instead of gaslighting the American people and pointing the finger at the other guy claiming what he's doing is unpopular and he's unpopular. Yeah, Donald Trump is unpopular. He's the unpopular one that everybody hates. Meanwhile, him and JD Vance, as you can see here on the chart, are the two politicians with the highest favorability scores. Yeah, the most popular politicians are the deeply unpopular ones who need to be constantly shunned and attacked, and those sitting with a 27% approval rating and 21% and probably even lower in Congress, yeah, they're the ones operating on high ground. It's just pure narcissism. The Democrats just can't take an L. They can't accept reality. In their world, they've got a delusional sense of grandeur, and they just seemingly can't snap out of it. They're still stuck in the Obama days where they were riding high, and they can't accept the times have changed. Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully.
All right, guys, that's it. I'm going to also just real quick show you guys what Chuck Schumer said on The View yesterday. He made a jackass out of himself. As we know, Trump derangement syndrome, and that's pretty much it. We're going to start at the first one right here. Let's get it started.
And you know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers, my the land and water that I own, or my employees. They hate government. Government's a barrier to people, a barrier to stop them from doing things. They want to destroy it. We are not letting them do it, and we're united.
Okay, good. You aren't united. The Democrat Party is the last thing but united. And yeah, of course we don't want people taking our hard-earned taxes. Why the hell should I pay for all these other corrupt countries when we have struggling Americans, homeless veterans, literally right now present throughout the country? It is not okay. And we shouldn't be donating a damn dime to another country.
I'm sort of the orchestra leader, and I have a lot of talent in that orchestra. So what I do is I show them off. We have some great spokespeople, people like Chris Murphy and Brian Schatz. We have, Democrats are learning to do the digital social media much better than we did before. I put Cory Booker and Tina Smith in charge. And then we have Bernie going out to Republican areas and doing rap.
Yeah, and Bernie just had a singer, a trans weirdo pretending to be a woman at his rally, insulting God. It's disgusting, these people that come to these Democrat events. They don't even know what the message is. They have no policy. It's just anti-Trump, and that's it.
Rallies and rallying. So we have a load of talent in our caucus, and I'll tell you one thing. We are totally united in one thing.
Trump.
Many things, but one thing above all. We are united in going after Trump and showing the American people that he is making the middle class pay for the tax cuts on the rich.
Right.
Today we're
These talking points just don't work anymore. Everything is about Trump. That is just embarrassing. They can't provide anything to benefit or help our lives. It's tax cuts for the rich, and we're against Trump. That's the Democrats' policy plan, folks.
Doing it on Medicaid. We're going to do it very soon on the tariffs. He wants to put these tariffs in. It's going to raise you folks, the average family, $22,000 a year for these tariffs. Why is he doing that? Something so stupid.
Why?
He wants to use that money for tax cuts for the billionaires. The Republican Party is a different kettle of fish than it used to be. And that's why we're fighting them so hard. They are controlled by a small group of wealthy, greedy people.
Oh, you mean like how Facebook and all these apps helped you with the last 2020 election? Or how about the fact that Soros pretty much funded the Democrat machine? Same shit in your scenario, bud. So what do you got to say to that? Nothing, of course.
You know what their attitude is? I made my money all by myself. How dare your government take my money from me? I don't want to pay taxes. Or I built my company with my bare hands. How dare your government tell me how I should treat my customers?
All right, we already saw that ending of the clip, but what do you guys think about this? The Democrats think they own us. They think that we're too stupid to know the truth. They lie constantly. It's just Trump derangement 24/7, and it never ends. I'm not falling for it. I know that, and I know a majority of Americans aren't falling for it as well. Again, please subscribe to my YouTube. YouTube has been shadow banning me terribly. I appreciate all the views I'm getting from Twitter. Love you guys. I'm going to be doing a live again in a little bit. Have a blessed day. Peace.